Hey guys, welcome to Belly Strong. Today we're going to be talking about the pelvic floor, which is huge for pregnancy. And the pelvic floor is basically a collection of muscles that sits at the bottom of your pelvis. And there are three openings in the pelvic floor. So the front passage, which is where you pee from. And then we have the middle passage, your vagina, which is where the baby comes from. And then your back passage, or your rectum, which is where the poo comes from. And your pelvic floor surrounds all of these openings and helps you control your bladder, control your bowel. But it's also really important for core stability and has huge implications for things like lower back pain or pelvic pain, and even conditions further along or throughout the body. So during pregnancy, what happens is we get this releasing of a hormone called relaxin. And this relaxes the pelvic floor muscles, making them more liable to stretching and getting a bit weaker. Because of the increasing weight and growth of the baby pushing down on the pelvic floor, this can also cause more stretching, more weakening. And this has an impact on things like bowel and bladder control. So during late stage pregnancy, a lot of women start to find that when they sneeze or cough or laugh, they may leak urine, or they just suddenly need to go to the bathroom and it's really, really urgent. And this is because of the weakening of the pelvic floor muscles. The pelvic floor is also generally damaged during delivery because there's a lot of stretching, sometimes tearing of those muscles, which can also lead to further weakness after delivery. The earlier you start with strength exercises and kegels to strengthen the pelvic floor, the less you should struggle with things like incontinence later in pregnancy, and the easier your recovery should be after delivery. So today we're going to be chatting through and demonstrating a few of those exercises. I just want to note that if you're experiencing things like pain, painful sex, you're struggling to pee or to do a number two, and the predominant symptom is pain in the pelvic area, you might be suffering from an overactive or a too tight pelvic floor. And in that case, I would recommend that you see a pelvic physio. But for today, we're focusing on if you have a weak pelvic floor or you just want to strengthen it in preparation for birth, the exercises that you can do. And the first ones are kegels. Now, these can be done pretty much in any position, any comfortable position. So you can be sitting cross-legged, you could be sitting on a chair, lying on your side, lying on your back with your knees bent, but just a position where you feel comfortable and you can concentrate on the movements. So if you imagine sucking a grape, I know it's very vivid, but sucking a grape into your vagina, that is what you want to picture or imagine when you're trying to contract your pelvic floor muscles. So you're sucking that grape in, tightening that pelvic floor, tightening that vagina, and then relaxing. During this movement, I want you to relax your back passage. So you're really focusing on that middle and front region of the pelvic floor. So you squeeze, sucking up that grape, you hold for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And you just keep doing that. So these are slow contractions. You can hold for up to 10 seconds and then release. And you can do this up to 10 times or until you feel a little bit fatigued. The next exercise is same thing. So we're picturing the same things in our head, but it's as many as we can possibly do in 10 seconds. And this is going to help with those moments when you sneeze, cough, or laugh, and your pelvic floor needs to contract really strongly, really quickly to prevent you from leaking. So I'll count to 10, and you're trying to squeeze or pull that grape in as many times as possible in 10 seconds. And so we'll try that now. So 10, 9, really contracting strongly, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. If it's a bit difficult to imagine the grape analogy, imagine trying to stop your pee midstream. If you're very weak, it may be more of an awareness of something happening in the region rather than feeling the muscle contract. But as you get better and stronger, you should start to feel more tension or more contraction in that pelvic floor area. So we'll do those fast contractions one more time, just as a reminder. It's really strong contractions, pulling that grape in or imagining like you're stopping that wee midstream, as many as possible in 10 seconds. And we go again for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And that you can repeat up to 10 times or until you feel fatigued. That is when the muscles have really worked. So a few other exercises that help complement these kegels are working the muscles around our pelvic region and some of the abdominals. So for this, you can be in a lying position. And the first thing we'll do is pelvic tilts. So your feet are flat on the floor and you're rocking your pelvis forward and back. So you're arching your back and then flattening that back into the mat as you tense the abdominal muscles. Arch and flatten. Try to make sure that the movement is only happening in this region. Nothing is happening from the chest up. I also want you to make sure that you're not pushing into the mat with your feet and you're not squeezing your glutes. So even during kegels, glutes should be relaxed. So you're rocking your pelvis forward and back here. And you can do this 20 to 30 times. The next exercise is keeping that pelvic tilt. So we're pushing our lower back into the mat just a little bit. We've got tension in those abdominals. And we add a leg lift. Now the aim here is to keep that abdominal tension and keep that lower back on the mat as we lift those legs one at a time. Once this becomes easy, you can add a double leg lift. Once again, making sure that the lower back is flat on the mat and we're not having any belly pouching or coning and the ribs remain flat. So this is going to start to work some of the deep abdominals and the stabilizers in this region that work together with the pelvic floor. We've got one more exercise that uses that pelvic tilt, but this time we'll need a roll towel or a ball, and you'll place that ball or towel between your knees. Feet are, same distance as knees apart or knee distance apart. We start with that pelvic tilt. We tuck under, push that lower back into the mat ever so slightly, and now it's a squeeze. So we're squeezing that towel, holding for 5 seconds, and then relaxing. Squeeze as we maintain this abdominal tension and release. And you can do this 8 to 10 times just to start to strengthen some of the inner thigh muscles as we still focus on the deep abdominals here. Once you've got that, we pelvic tilt, we hold that tension, we squeeze the knees, and then we lift the spine up to the ceiling. Lift the hips up to the ceiling as we keep squeezing, and then come back down. So going through that sequence again, pelvic tilt, squeeze, and lift hips up to ceiling. Hold for 5 seconds, and then come back down. And you can do this 8 to 12 times. So these are some exercises that you can do to start to build up your pelvic floor and the abdominal muscles and other muscles in the pelvic and lower back region. I'd encourage you to check out our 5-minute Kegel exercise video, which is something that you can do every day throughout pregnancy and even after pregnancy to maintain strength of that pelvic floor. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would love to have you, and I'll see you soon on another video.